Hola friends, welcome to the Medicine, Marriage, and Money YouTube channel, the only channel for physicians who want to achieve marital interdependence and financial freedom together. On this channel, you will learn how to show up as the best version of yourself so that you can love intentionally and build a more financially savvy relationship with your spouse. And I am your host, a physician mom, a doctor's wife, a Gottman leader, a certified life and marriage coach, Dr. Kate Mangona. Welcome. Bienvenidos. Yes, amazing. So if you are seeing this on the Instagram or Facebook, give me a shout out. Let me know where you're watching from, what time it is, and hashtag replay. Today is going to be another episode of Medicine, Marriage, and Money. So welcome, sweet friends, for coming to another episode. We will be focusing on mirroring today. Today, we're going to be talking about this technique, and it's actually a relationship hack that I've found. It's something that couples who are really connected and in love actually do on a daily basis, especially when you see those couples that have been together for like 20, 30 years. They have got mirroring down. It's like part of their daily routine. It's part of their daily life. They just don't usually know it's called mirroring unless they've had a relationship coach or therapist or somebody who studied Neuro-Linguistic Programming actually tell them that's what we're doing. So I am so excited to share with you these tips and why mirroring can be useful in your relationship, how you can start applying these tips, mirroring techniques in your relationship today, and what to avoid. Because I did share this on Facebook briefly last week after my class where I learned about this. And one of my friends was like, oh, I tried that, Kate. It didn't work out so well for me. That's why I'm coming on here today to let you guys know how to do it correctly. Okay. Maybe you want to practice on somebody else before you practice on your spouse, if you're really trying to work on that relationship, or before you practice on your kids, if you're trying to work on a relationship with, let's say you've got a teenager. Maybe you want to work on this with that guy at Trader Joe's, that guy or that woman or whoever it is checking out putting the groceries into your bag. Maybe you want to try in Home Depot in line. Practice makes permanent. Practice doesn't make perfect, right? So whatever you practice is going to become permanent. So if you practice doing this the wrong way, then it might not work so well on the other end. So what is mirroring? Mirroring is a concept created in Neuro-Linguistic Programming, NLP, you may have heard it shortened for, that involves subtly matching the behavior, the body language, and the communication style of another person. So say I take this sip of hot oat milk mixed with water because I couldn't find it. I didn't even look for a tea bag or coffee to put into this. I've got my oat milk and water. I take a sip. You then may feel more comfortable taking a sip yourself. Or maybe you do it and we do it together. And we're kind of like, it creates this mirroring technique. It's like you feel like you're a little bit the same. You're a little bit connecting, and we're both sipping our coffee at the same time. If you ever noticed in a conversation or maybe in a lecture, the other person might not feel comfortable taking a cup of water, or especially even a recording. If you've ever been recording live, if you take your cup and you drink it, the other person might follow. That's mirroring. That's making the other person feels more comfortable to do what you do alike. So when used effectively, mirroring can enhance your relationship with your spouse or whoever it is you're working on by fostering rapport, by building trust, by creating a deeper sense of connection. So those are the three things we're going to be focusing on, how it can help. And then I'm going to move on to how you can start. So I'm also going to avoid some pitfalls to avoid. So those three things that we want to do in our relationship. One, rapport building. Mirroring helps create that sense of familiarity, I can't even say it, familiarity or similarity between two people, between partners. By mirroring your spouse's nonverbal cues, maybe it's a gesture, maybe it's what I'm doing now, maybe it's the way you hold your face, maybe it's even the way they dress. Okay, after you've been with somebody for a long time, you may notice like older couples on the park bench outside, they kind of sit the same way. They walk in the same cadence. They have the same tone when they speak to each other on that park bench or when they're walking around the track. So even their facial expressions, it sends this subconscious connection that promotes understanding and empathy. Understanding. What does your spouse want from you most every single day if you're communicating with them? They want you to understand them, right? And we want to be understood too. And empathy is something all humans have the potential to do, right? We don't always place ourselves there, but empathy is something we want people just to understand, to feel where we're coming from, especially that most intimate partner in our life. Number 2, communication enhancement. So mirroring, say you were to, cross your arms like this. That might be a very closed off technique, but maybe you put your arms on your legs or on their shoulder. When your partner then puts their hand on your shoulder, it sends that signal, oh, this is that time where I'm going to pause and I'm going to really actively engage and listen, right? Because they put their hand on my shoulder. I'm going to put my hand on their shoulder. Don't do this with the person on Trader Joe's. Just do it with your spouse, okay? If that's what they're doing, okay? So by mirroring these nonverbal cues, by matching language patterns, you can do it with your tone of voice. And that's actually one of the places I recommend starting with. If you're a little bit more uncomfortable with the actual body language, like if you can just match their tone and even the speed they speak, that will help. Okay. And I find when I was first married and we would wake up in the morning, we were two very, very different morning people. Okay. I needed my silence. I needed my quiet. I needed everything. I was an only child. Makes sense, right? My husband was a younger sibling. So he wakes up and just excited. Like, it's like he's had 3 cups of espresso already. He's ready to start the day. He's like bursting with energy. His tone is, jubilee, joyous. And I was just like, I was a little taken off. And I was like thrown off by that. Like, that's not how I was used to waking up. So it took a while for us. And it took a few conversations and a little bit of tension and conflict and I would say probably some hurt feelings too, and some offense back and forth before we found our morning rhythm where we'd both wake up. We matched each other at the same tone, the same cadence. Does this happen every morning? No, but most mornings, yes, right? He has found his thing, how to jump into energy. I've kind of matched him to us. Like we've come to like, instead of him here or me here, we've kind of like come to this level ground. And that's what's so amazing about mirroring. We did it and we didn't even realize this. This is what couples do who are really in tune with one another and they don't even realize it. And when you're not doing this, this is why I'm giving you this relationship hack, because you may not know about this. You may have not been taught about this, right? We weren't taught about this in school. We actually aren't taught in school how to be a good life partner. And we're taught the exact opposite in medical school and residency. We're taught how to be the most terrible life partner, right? Slave over your patients, only care about them, have no personal life, never go to the bathroom or take care of yourself. Like, that's what we're taught. Okay. So that's why I'm coming in here to tell you that mirroring can be one of those relationship hacks to help rapport build again in your relationship, to help enhance the communication. And thirdly, and most importantly, build that trust. Now, whether you already have a relationship or trust or not, doesn't matter, because at any moment, trust can be broken. You probably have a friendship that might have been months, years, and all of a sudden, like one major or one thing kind of shifted the way you viewed the other person. And it takes a while to gain that trust back. Sometimes, maybe not all the times. You think about the last time this happened in your relationship, but building trust. So mirroring can help build that sense of trust, build that sense of validation. Because when you mirror your spouse, it shows that one, you're actively listening, right? Because you are actively listening. You're picking up on cues, verbal or non-verbal, tone of voice, cadence, okay, how fast they're walking. You're paying attention. This is so funny. So in my relationship, Victor and I tend to walk at a different pace at different times. Like when I'm in the hospital, I walk very, very fast. When we're walking the dog, Victor might walk very, very fast. And I'm like, wait a second, let's slow down. And so let's pause. We'll talk about it. And we're like, okay, let's mirror here. I don't even use that word, but now that I'm thinking about it, I do. And then just talking about it brings up communication like, oh, well, he wants to be able to walk through all of the campus. And I just thought we were going on a nice leisurely stroll I knew we only had 30 minutes, but I didn't know we had to, go around the entire lake. Oh, that's the goal. Okay. Well, then I'm going to mirror your pace and I'm going to leave this, backpack or this heavy purse at home that I didn't want to bring. Okay. So we're understanding, we're expressing, we are, accepting their perspective. Also, when you mirror somebody, you're accepting, like when you hold that cup the same way they hold that cup, when you bring it up to your lips, you're accepting that that's normal. Like, and that's an okay way to do something. And you can think of something different, right? The way you move your hair or and you may not want to do this, like depending on if you're more masculine or more feminine. I'm not saying you flip your hair the same way or that you use the same high pitched voice. If you're not, feeling that's not you. And this is also where I want to get into a little bit about what mirroring is not. So mirroring is not mimicking. Okay. Mimicking is poking fun. It can cause communication. It can cause humiliation, right? And people don't like when you mimic them. It can be detrimental to relationship. So it has like a lack of authenticity. So be careful when you're mirroring, you're not completely losing your own self. Okay. You are not making fun of them. And I did this yesterday when I told you last week how I'd mirrored my children. I started crying, fake crying like my daughter because she was so upset. She really needed help getting dressed with her PJs and her towel. And I was still busy. And I started fake crying with her. I wasn't doing it to make fun of her. I matched exactly her tone, her facial expressions, and she looked at me and I wasn't doing it like, Shanola, you're such a baby, and no, I wasn't. I was just actually like, so cold too. And, depending on where they're at, it depends on if you can meet them there or not. If they're way, way, way up here or way, way, way down there, it might not work out. So you have to be flexible and you have to be the one open to adjusting, right? It just so happened it worked out for me at that time. And then everybody burst out laughing, even my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old and my 6-year-old. And the whole evening was a little bit more playful and light, I think, because I didn't get so angry and frustrated. And little kids sense that. Your spouse, they sense that. And if they don't, tell them that you're angry or frustrated, right? Or figure out a way to communicate that. So mirroring, rapport building, communication enhancement, building trust. Do not mimic, do not cause humiliation. And the other one thing I wanted to touch on was mirroring is actually a technique that narcissistic personalities tend to love and utilize in order to find their mate or find their next victim. We don't want to be a narcissist. And I'm not saying you are, because if you're listening to my Medicine, Marriage, and Money show, you're most likely not a narcissist. So what narcissists would do is they tend to do everything, right? Tone of voice. Oh, I'm into that. You're into Disney movies. I'm into Disney movies too. And I love Aladdin's my favorite too, right? And so it's like they really become that person. It's like mirroring on steroids to an extreme where they lose their own self, their own personality, their own opinions. And then eventually it wears off after the honeymoon phase of the relationship is over. I don't want you to do that. I'm not saying you to do that. And if somebody else were to do that to you to the extreme, what are some red flags? Okay. What some red flags may be that they're not that way with their friends, or they have different interests and likes with their friends. I know when I first met my man in my life, he was super into theater. We loved to go watch musicals. He was into music. He played the violin, the piano, the guitar. He had all these interests outside of medicine, even though he was in love with numbers and data and spreadsheets. But guess what? When we went to go to the symphony, or we went to go to watch a show, when we went somewhere else, people knew him. Like everywhere we went, people knew him. It wasn't just a show. It wasn't just pretend. It wasn't fake. It wasn't just for me. So notice these things, okay? And then be able to balance. Like, are they able to be flexible and show understanding and connection, or is it just you? Okay. And also be able to grow and change over time. Okay. So avoid that, right? So mirroring, different than mimicking, different and less of an extreme on steroids, like a narcissistic mirroring. Now, remember, mirroring is one technique that you can use. That is one technique in, as defined by the Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And if you feel like you're bad at it, practice. There's something called neuroplasticity. It's neuroscience. You guys don't have to take my word for it. If you are a neurosurgeon or more in the neurosurgical neuroscience specialties, you know what I'm talking about. Our brain has this plasticity. We can learn new techniques whenever we put our mind to it, when we believe we can, and when we start practicing that way. Okay, so practice, try it out on that guy at Trader Joe's, try it out on your hairdresser. Just find that connection, lean in, do this on those people in your life that you want that deeper rapport with, the deeper communication, the trust, okay? And it will come back to you. You can do this at any point in your relationship. You can do when you feel like you don't know each other at all and you're starting to learn who each other are again after the kids have left the house. You can do this when you're already like on cloud 9, right? And you just want to take your relationship to the next and enhance your whatever it is. What if you want to make 10 times the money you guys are making together? Maybe you're a power couple and you're of the same business. Maybe you want to enhance your love life and you don't know where to start. Mirror, okay? This is one technique. There are many more. Remember, there's also spending quality time together, learning about emotional intelligence, the active listening, which the mirroring helps foster, expressing appreciation and gratitude for your partner directly to them every day, and that open communication. So with that, remember that deeper communication and understanding in a relationship requires effort, patience, and a willingness to grow yourself, to grow together. Mirroring. Try it out today. And then I told you I would say how to start today, and I kind of sprinkle it in throughout this episode. So let me just give you 3 things to try tonight. Start with the tone. Match their tone when you talk back to them. The second thing you can try is they say something like, oh my gosh, my boss at work today, he told me to come meet him in the office, or she came to meet her in the office. And then as soon as I got there, she stands up and she puts her hands up in the air. Say what your spouse said that. And the thing you can do is she stands up and she puts her hands up in the air. So say the last phrase or the last 3 words they said and make it a question. And that's mirroring back what they said to you, but on a very interested, active listening. Okay, I've got you. I'm understanding you. I see you. Talk to me type of level. Okay. And then listen, right? So tone, the last phrase with a question mark. And the third thing I want you to do, as my dog is barking, is match one. It's time for me to go. Let me just give you one last thing. I want you to match their pace. The pace of their voice. And then after that, you get more comfortable. Maybe try a little bit, some of the body language, but make it more natural. And then try maybe putting if they're touching your shoulder or your arm or your back or hug, try really giving those back too. So try with the tone, then with the last phrase and then the question, next the pace, and then body language. Love you. Have such a lovely day. So much love to you and your spouse. Bye-bye. If you are finding the concepts I teach in these episodes useful and want more in-depth and personalized support for your relationship, consider this your invitation to join me in creating the most connected and intimate relationship with your spouse that you could dream of. Go to www.medicinemarriageandmoney.com right now and download my 18-page medical marriage survival guide and workbook at no cost to you. I also have a 6-day marriage challenge, which goes over the 6 predictors of divorce at no cost to you. These have been known to decrease fighting, rumination, and grudges between you and your loved one. If you want to take it a step farther, really enhance the joy and connection in the most intimate relationship in your life, sign up for my 8-week Making Marriage Work program today at medicinemarriageandmoney.com. Thanks for leaving us a stellar review, subscribing, and sharing with your friends on social media. You have the power to improve someone else's life and marriage simply by sharing this episode. Much love to you and your spouse. You're exactly where you need to be in this moment. Adios, my friends. The content of this episode is not intended to be a substitute for professional, medical, or financial advice. The opinions provided on this episode are those of myself or the invited guest alone. They do not represent the opinions of any particular institution. Always seek the advice of your physician or financial advisor with any questions you may have of a medical condition or financial plan. This is for your entertainment only.